Ladies and gentlemen, WWE Raw review. I'm here to get my top 15 takeaways from WWE Raw. We're about to hop right on into it. I'm not going to waste any time. Less fluff, more stuff. I'm going to hop right on into it. Feel free, if you're on YouTube, to hit that notification bell and to subscribe to this channel for more wrestling videos and sports videos. If you're on Periscope, feel free to follow me. You can find me on Twitter as well, at OMGCorby, that too sweet. POD. So we're gonna hop right on into it. The first takeaway I have is the crowd. As a fellow Louisianian, if I could say that, the crowd wasn't the best last night in Lafayette because, well, it is a casual crowd down in Lafayette, and I seen a lot of complaints on Twitter about the crowd. The crowd is silent, and you guys had a major point. Like, I really think if they were gonna do the call-ups for NXT, they should have done them in New Orleans and SmackDown tonight, where they are, and I think they would have gotten a much better response. So moving on, yes, the crowd was bad last night. Moving on to the next takeaway, Triple H at the start of the show, it was quite the weird announcement of the NXT guys. You know, you had Triple H initially talking about WrestleMania and how excited he was, how excited everybody should be on the road to WrestleMania. I talked about DX's announcement into the Hall of Fame coming up on WrestleMania weekend. And he announced the debuting NXT stars, which will eventually go back to NXT. But the debuting stars, talked about Ricochet. Aleister Black will be here on Monday night. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. It was a weird announcement because he talked about him, then they shot to Michael Cole. He's doing this video package, and Michael Cole is running down their list of accomplishments. And part of me is like, okay, just bring them down right now and just, you know, I just have them show up. It was very weird, but nonetheless, we were off to a good start, and I was very excited for the call-ups. I wanted to see how they would turn out and how the matches would turn out. So my next takeaway is that Baron Corbin and Braun Strowman makes no sense whatsoever. This wasn't a half bad match at all. The crowd was very much into it. It's a casual crowd. They were very much into this one. They were very much into Braun Strowman because they know Braun Strowman. But at the end of the day, I have no interest in this because, okay, Baron Corbin is in a match with Braun Strowman Sunday night, and Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre comes out to ringside. Where were they tonight? Like, they just decided tonight that, okay, we needed to help you on Sunday night, but you got it tonight. Like, I just don't understand the logic in that. Braun Strowman wins with the power slam through the table. The crowd enjoyed it. I'm ready to get away from Braun Strowman and Baron Corbin. So my next takeaway is that Paul Heyman always has good delivery, but I'm just starting to lose my interest in Paul Heyman. He's always there for a good segment, but just it is starting to get very repetitive. He came out tonight. He got a goozle from Braun Strowman, and then he went into his promo. He went straight into a video hyping up Brock Lesnar, the history of Brock Lesnar. The video was well done by WWE. They always do a good job with these things. They always do a fantastic job. It was great to watch, but it is just boring, and I have no interest in Brock Lesnar whatsoever. So Paul Heyman was then interrupted by Finn Balor. I thought Finn Balor was coming out to make another case for the Universal title, but he wasn't. He was just out there to cut his own promo, which leads me to my next takeaway, and that is a great showcase of Ricochet. So Finn Balor's out to cut a promo, and before he can even get anything out, here comes Lio Rush. Talking about how Finn Balor didn't deserve the title. And shortly thereafter, Bobby Lashley, speaking of things that make no sense, Bobby Lashley came down, he laid out Finn Balor, and him and Lio Rush was working together, and I'm like, oh, they're back together again now? Like, what is this? So Ricochet comes out to make the save, and we have ourselves a tag team match player. Like, okay, it was Finn Balor versus Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush. I thought that they did a fantastic job of showcasing Ricochet. It wasn't perfect, but they showcased what Ricochet did best. They let him do his greatest hits, and it was a fantastic showcase. Actually, this is one of the few times for us NXT call-ups where the crowd really got into it. Once it came back to the hot tag for Ricochet, the crowd lost it. And they got very excited, and that led to the 634, the win for Ricochet. Very good introduction to the WWE audience of Ricochet, and they did a fantastic job there. I enjoyed every bit of this match. So my next takeaway after this is Lucha House Party. Who freaking cares? It was Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins versus Lince Dorado and Gran Malik. And like, I can't get invested into any of these teams, especially the Lucha House Party. So this was a match that pretty much served no purpose whatsoever. The Lucha House Party picked up the win over Kurt Hawkins, and his losing streak continues. The Lucha House Party wins again. I have no interest in them whatsoever. So my next takeaway after that is, what are they doing with these call-ups? Not the call-ups that debuted on Monday Night Raw, but the call-ups that debuted some weeks ago. We had Heavy Machinery come out, and they cut a promo. They talked about how they had a pact and they had each other's back. And shortly thereafter, they were interrupted by Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans did the Simpsons gif again, where she walks down and she walks right back out. She did it again. She walked down the ramp. She walked right back out, and then Heavy Machinery stumped down the ramp. They stumped right back out. And what the heck was that? Like, what was the point in that? That served no purpose whatsoever. So moving on to my next takeaway. DIY looked great, but the Revival lost. Tommaso Ciampa, Gargano was backstage. They were chatting, and Gable and Bobby Roode interrupted them, talking about how they had to start from the bottom and how they didn't understand how they got the title shot over them, or the match over them, with the champions. And that led the Revival to come out and talk about the old times that Tommaso Ciampa and Gargano DIY versus the Revival, those fantastic matches that they once had. And that led us to the match that we were all looking for, DIY versus the Revival. It was a phenomenal match. I won't go hold by hold. I'm going to kick out, like I said, I'm going to kick out the fluff. And this was just a phenomenal match. I did enjoy the top rope Steiner Bulldog from the Revival. Just a great throwback move and a great move overall. This was a phenomenal match. Once it picked up, it was just classic DIY versus the Revival. Surprisingly, DIY picked up the clean win after the super kick in the knee to Dawson. And I guess I was very surprised with that. Now, you'd have to expect that DIY would look good in their first match on Raw, but I would have much rather this ended with a DQ or a count out, because you can't have the Revival win the titles last week and then come back the very next week and lose clean to debuting stars. Like, I don't like that booking decision. Overall, the match was very good. I'm not so sure if I'm very sure that I don't like the Revival picking up a clean loss there. So after that, my next takeaway is I am not feeling these Kevin Owens home videos. Gotta say, the moments with his son is very cool, very funny. I enjoy those. But overall, these videos of Kevin Owens talking about how he's ready to come here, how he wants to come back, and he says to trust him, he is ready to fight again. And I'm like, personally, I'm thinking they should have just had Kevin Owens show up. Like, scrap the home videos. Whenever Kevin Owens is ready to return, whenever he's ready to go, just have him show up. The crowd is gonna go crazy. We don't need these home videos. I don't find them particularly interesting, to be quite honest. So after that, my next takeaway is Bayley and Sasha to NXT. So Sasha and Bayley came down. They talked about their WWE Tag Team title win. They got "You Deserve It" chance, the most overrated chant in the history of wrestling. Although Sasha and Bayley does deserve it, I can't lie, after all that they've been through. But they talked about how they were emotional over their title wins, how they were happy, how they would defend these titles on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. My eyes just bucked open when they said that, like, we're going to see Sasha and Bayley back in NXT. I would absolutely love that. That would be fantastic. So before they can get through, here was Nia Jax and Tamina. As soon as Nia Jax's music hits, I'm like, oh man, here we go again. So Nia Jax comes out. She tries to get into Bayley's head. She tries to get into Sasha Banks' head. Said that their title reign won't last long because Sasha can't defend a championship. And this led to a mini brawl. When I say mini, like 10 seconds. I think it was Nia Jax that hopped up on a ring apron. Sasha Banks tried to lock in the bank statement, and Tamina pulled Nia Jax down. And so that's going to be the first feud for the women's titles. And I have to say, that I cannot be any more interested in that feud. I love me some Sasha, I love me some Bayley, but versus Nia Jax and Tamina, I hope it works out well for the ladies, but I am not interested whatsoever. So my next takeaway is a lackluster Dean Ambrose and Drew McIntyre match. Look, when we got the segment when Dean Ambrose slapped the crap out of Drew McIntyre, I was like, oof, okay. Dean Ambrose is kind of packing it in lately, but Dean Ambrose versus Drew McIntyre, I'm down for that. So we get to this match, and then I'm all lathered up. I'm like, okay, let's go. And before I can even turn around and sit down, we have 2 Claymores and the match is over. Like, I don't know what's going on with Dean Ambrose. I don't know if this thing is a work with him leaving or not, but they are sure squashing Dean Ambrose. He got the strange win over EC3. Past that, it's like, man, just get up out of here. They don't just care about Dean Ambrose whatsoever. And we'll see if him leaving is a work or a shoot. We'll see. But lately, he's been getting treated like it is a shoot that he's leaving. Squash match for Drew McIntyre as he picked up the win over Dean Ambrose. Next up, my next takeaway, Seth Rollins. I'm not very interested in this build as it pertains to Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. Seth Rollins said that he had a promise and he's walking in with an acceptance of fate. Said at Mania, he said it would be over for Brock Lesnar. So Dean Ambrose comes in and he said that, hey man, where were you? And Seth is like, what are you talking about? And I guess it was kind of funny, but at the end of the day, like, okay, Dean Ambrose is the guy that turned his back on you, and he turned his back on Roman, and now they're trying to book some type of Dean is trying to get back together with Seth thing, and I'm like, it's nonsensical. I have no interest in it whatsoever. So my next takeaway, Aleister Black debuts. It was so cool to see Aleister freaking Black in that entrance. Elias was here for his normal weekly segment that he always does. He says something about the crowd, and I'm getting sick of it, and somebody always interrupts him. He was interrupted by Aleister Black. And I heard that guitar riff and I was like, oh my goodness, here we go. And I gotta say that the crowd, like, this seems like it is a casual city. So it's a casual crowd that doesn't really know these NXT guys. That guitar riff should have got a pop that blew the arena off. So Aleister Black comes down and it's cool to see him. He said that Elias would fade to black tonight. We got a match between Aleister Black and Elias. The match was decent at best. There was nothing special going on about this match. The crowd was very silent about it. So that really hurt the product tonight. The match itself, I wasn't really interested in, but I love the black mask from Aleister Black. It was just cool seeing him do that on Monday Night Raw. He picked up the win on Elias, and the commentary, I gotta say, was during the entire night as well. So after that, my next takeaway, Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott. They couldn't do that match at Elimination Chamber. So we got Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott. And what we got was not a great match, but a match with effort into it. Ruby Riott got squashed at Elimination Chamber, but on Monday night, it was a decent match. I never believed all of the false hope finishes that they tried to sell me with Ruby Riott. Not one bit, but I did appreciate the effort. You know, I don't like it that, okay, they had a squash at Elimination Chamber, and this just kind of felt like a makeup match. But at the least, I look at it and I was like, okay, I would have been fine with this match at Elimination Chamber. We got a decent at best match. Ronda Rousey went for that dive off the top rope, and it just scared the crap out of me. She kind of, her foot just kind of slipped off the top rope, and luckily it turned out the way that it should have turned out, or else it could have been very ugly. Ronda Rousey got the tap out for the win, and that would be the end of the show. I thought something would go down. I thought maybe Becky would come out, but Becky didn't come out. We just got Ronda Rousey standing tall at the end of the show. So my last takeaway was that this was actually a good show overall. Like, there was some consistency in the show. It was wrestling heavy in the show. Now, some would have you to believe that that's the AEW effect. I'm not going to even go down that road. And, you know, I'm going to leave that alone for the moment. I'm going to talk about that later on in the podcast. But it was a good show overall for Monday Night Raw. I enjoyed it. I didn't particularly like the Revival taking a clean loss. I thought that was a bad decision there. But overall, for what we normally get from Monday Night Raw, this was a phenomenal show. We'll see if it continues when the NXT guys go back to NXT. But as for right now, I'm just going to take it for what it is right now and enjoy the fact that we got a consistent Monday Night Raw. The crowd wasn't all that great, but the action was. It was a good show overall. Let me know your thoughts, whether that be on YouTube, at youtube.com/c/OMGCoreyB, or on Periscope at 2SweetPod, or on Twitter at 2SweetPod, or at OMGCoreyB. Let me know your thoughts on Monday Night Raw overall. What did you think of the show? Let me know.